Oral hygiene. While cleaning my teeth with one of those nifty little white plastic things with the blue-green fuzzy rubber tips, I think of James Dean and Marlon Brando and How to Be Cool, which dates me right there, but still they were. I have never been particularly, though of course many of us tried, like for instance, you cannot possibly use the little plastic things to pick your teeth. You have to use flat wooden toothpicks that come probably in a red and white cardboard box. This kind of stuff happens when you get older. I was really excited by these little plastic gadgets, and that's pretty sad. But you get your kicks where you can, I think. At least I didn't die in a car wreck at 24. And maybe I can live to be 80 like Brando, though I won't have 16 children. But I do have 2, who sometimes seem to think I am sort of cool. So there. Del Giorno. We were just in New York for one entire day, and when it was getting to be dinner time, we went to a crowded, noisy place, and I didn't know what to get because I don't eat out that often, and it's really hard to decide, I think, pretty much always. And so when the people at the next table got their food, I looked at it all, and I thought, gee, that must be the eggplant parmesan. And maybe I think that's not really enough food because I'm very hungry. And wow, look at that. What is that? It looks like potato pancakes, but no, it can't be that. It must be the polente I funghi trifolate con vinaigrette al barbaresco. I'll try that. And I did. And wow, it was really, really wonderful. And I think you should get some next time. And the beer was really good. And the bruschetta del Giorno, which had lots of grilled red and green peppers. And all of this was way better than any poem I can possibly write. So you should go there and get some next time you're in New York. 2. Vacation poem. Restless boredom. Fidgeting. It's not lack of energy. Maybe tired of hearing myself talk. Lack of connection, more like it. Reaching for something to grab, or much better, to grab me. It's all always there, but sometimes there's a mismatch. And quiet is okay, I guess, but I miss the excitement. Just want to feel alive is all I ask. But what is alive? I'm in an old white wooden boat on a gentle sea, painted blue trim, a couple oars, a coil of lazy rope, the warm sun not too hot, a breeze, some sand, maybe palms not far away. This is actually pretty nice, the water quietly slapping the sides. I could get used to this, the gulls above. Some terns sail by in low formation. I'm tan and 20 years younger. I look good. Below, fish are darting around the coral in colors like you can't believe. Big rays glide past them, casting shadows like clouds. I'm not bored now, not restless. I don't want anything to happen at all. I'm happy and content. I am not making this up. How does that happen? Vegetable buddies. We're working in the garden a lot now, which makes me a little frantic, and no, I do not find it relaxing at all. It is a constant battle against the onslaught of vegetation of every kind. So many varieties of weeds, which may be okay in themselves, but you can't generally eat them, and that's why they are weeds, and very good at it, I must say, coming up vengefully everywhere. I hoe and pull and cut and slash and mow and scythe and weed whack and bush hog and chainsaw, and they just keep coming. There's nothing you can do to stop them, though you can slow their progress up to a point. I do see why people use herbicides, but that seems like an escalation that crosses a line I do not want to cross. I fear the plants would retaliate in kind, and soon enough we would find ourselves harvesting toxic tomatoes and poisonous asparagus. The beans would destroy our livers in minutes, like amanita. Or worse, squash vines and bindweed would creep up the house in the moonlight and come in through the windows to choke us in our sleep. We have a new hoe that goes back and forth and quite smartly snaps their little necks and cuts off their little heads before they have time to root too deep. I know now that they see me coming. It makes me nervous to go out there at all. They watch me gathering my tools. They are furtive and cunning and send roots and runners underground. Some have nasty spines. They reroot and sprout from nothing unless you incinerate them in the noonday sun, or, laughing maniacally, toss them into the heap with the rotting remains of their damned and broken brethren. On beauty. I often wonder about beauty and the beautiful, as people from Illinois sometimes say when they are trying to be emphatic, and I don't get it. The Taj Mahal is beautiful, I get that, and it really is. And Raphael Madonnas are too, I guess, though they leave me pretty cold, but I know they must be. Porn stars are not beautiful, even if they do not leave you cold and are uplifting. I get that too. But Irving Penn made cigarette butts almost beautiful, at least extremely arresting. And a lot of garbage is actually beautiful if you look at it right. Plastics and old banana skins and the rainbow colors of mold. Bloodworms are exquisite, and bacteria, and the extraordinary architecture of the interlocking pieces of the mouth hooks of maggots are as delicate and gorgeous as anything Alexander Calder ever made. The motion of a piston is beautiful, and the streets of New York at night, diamonds and moist red clay. Saturn is breathtaking, and the moon can melt your heart. Some people can too, even ones not in paintings or on TV. So beauty makes no sense at all to me. I do not think Socrates had this right. I don't know what to do instead, but I think we have to throw the whole thing out, along with the philosopher kings, so people can start liking the world on their own again. Light of the mind? I don't think so, thanks. Every part of the body is lit, and most of the world, too, for that matter. Lit up somehow, if we could feel it. Oh, and truth and goodness, they go too, along with all the kings. Something happy. So hey, let's think about something happy now. And some days it's hard to do that, but it is important to try. The Buddha says we should smile, and then that tail wags the whole dog, and I find it's pretty much true, but hard to remember after frowning for 50 years. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Maybe I should carry a mirror with me, but that only helps if you have the right heroes, not Heidegger, for instance, or Nietzsche. I think your heroes should be smiling people like the Buddha is good, or in some pictures I have seen, Cy Twombly is smiling like some of his paintings are. It doesn't mean you're not serious. Serious is fine, but you have to have humor in the face of the catastrophe that life gets to be so much of the time. I'm seeing Phil Whalen, another Buddhist. Maybe they have a monopoly on happiness, or maybe they just don't feel all the pain anymore, but Leslie Scalapino seems like she smiled a lot, and she was in pain. And Gary Snyder, Christ, they're all Buddhists, but that genial madman Olson also smiled a lot, it seems. But not my mother, and I don't care what they say. It does matter who you look at. We need pictures of all the philosophers in their unguarded moments. Did they smile a lot or not, I wonder? And that ought probably to be the real test of their books, which usually I don't think have ever felt very smiley to me. I mean, seriously, can you think of even one? Well, Heraclitus maybe, if fragments count, which they have to, and Socrates had a wry sense of humor, but was way too earnest. Probably there's somebody I missed. I think Whitehead was a generally happy man, and Russell too, but gosh, I hope he doesn't count, because scornful amusement isn't smiling. I guess it's Bodhidharma and the Zen masters who have the corner on this market, and that wise Indian guru who said about the end of the world by either bang or whimper. And there's, by the way, a man who never grinned at any picture I have ever seen. Well, okay, maybe a couple, but it was a Harvard smile. Well, would it really be such a big deal? Possession is 9/10 of the law. The little oval sticker on this orange says, "Tomorrow's Organics, 93107, product of USA." It's orange and black with white letters in 3 font sizes and 2 different fonts, one serif, one sans. And immediately I am in over my head in global produce supply chain logistics, because I can't find out much about Tomorrow's Organics, except that it has headquarters in Monterey, California, and is certified organic, and is a division of Food Source, which is a C.A. Robinson company, about both of which I can find out quite a lot, and they seem to have lots of exceedingly clean and happy employees in offices and cubicles, and smiling in meetings about global supply chain logistics, which they seem to know way more about than I do. And they have a transportfolio blog and everything, and are experts in intermodalities of every kind, apparently, sea, rail, air, and road. So they do an awful lot of trucking, and maybe they would know something about what happened to old Bob last weekend, who was just in here 5 minutes ago as I was washing this exact orange, and telling me about his trip to the gas station on Sunday, when he was pumping gas because it was finally a sunny, warm day, and this enormous truck wheel, tire and all, came flying through the air and took the headlight off his car and smashed up the front end pretty good. It was very exciting, and you have to wonder how often things like that happen, though statistics may be hard to come by, and I don't know if the truck had a load of oranges, 93107s, or not, or any other logistical produce at all, actually, though I can find nothing whatever about that online, and I think that is pretty suspicious. Could this possibly be just coincidence? I will eat this orange, but I will save the sticker, as I do always anyway, just in case. Genius of Capitalism. Down the street comes the despondent man, dragging his pulpy feet on flaccid mechanical legs. Will he be able to live like this? We don't think so. How will he escape the swirling vortex up ahead, Charybdis of the sidewalk, black bitumen flows? He doesn't care one little bit. Damn that man. We'll have to save him, stupid bastard. What is he thinking? That it's just him, by God? As he mumbles slowly on towards his sticky, slow-motion doom. Somebody, damn it, will have to save him. I hope they charge his family for the firemen and the ropes, but no. Here comes the news helicopter to the rescue, hovering down between the tall buildings, and they drop a rope with a banner ad for erectile dysfunction, and it dangles in front of his downcast face. He doesn't see it, walks right on. Hey, somebody get his attention! All the people on the sidewalk hurry by, stepping with care, around the gummy maelstrom and tossing in litter, assuming it is a useful addition to the municipal services, till a little girl in pigtails stops her antennae keen for lugubriosity and hollers, "Hey, mister, look out!" He looks up at the high-pitched squeal and sees the rope wiggling 4 feet ahead and the banner ad, which reminds him he has to stop to get a personal hygiene product. So he pauses, just in time, I might add, and retraces his steps. Thus, in one sudden purposive thrust, he thwarts the reporters, thrills the little girl, proves the efficacy of advertising, contributes to the GDP, forestalls the tragic collapse of his young family, and improves the health of his bowels. You just couldn't make this stuff up. Arbor Day. As I was driving into work this morning alone in my reliable car, I noticed as I was taking the 90-degree turn I negotiate every weekday morning that all the trees on the 2 distant hills, which are perhaps 3 or 4 miles away, were leaning ever so slightly in the same direction. I could see this because it is early spring and there are no leaves on them. It looked as if someone had drawn them with a grayish and or brownish-colored pencil and made thousands of little marks very fast, probably with his or her left hand all at once and very furiously. And it seemed to me that each of these trees was a little person, and they all had their arms raised high, reaching towards the sky, all in the same slightly south-leaning direction, and their hands were waving like they would be in a comic book with white gloves on, and 2 black buttons at the wrist of each glove, and all the trees were smiling and hoping for the sun. This made me happy then, and I still am. Number theory. Maybe you do this too when you are doing your Pilates and need to count things, like for doing the 100. Or maybe something else. For me, I need numbers all the time, and I will imagine the number itself, say 7 or 23. And I noticed once that they were not always in the same font, but usually they were Times New Roman or Garamond. So I started trying to get them to show up in other fonts too, like Arial, or Bodoni, or Book Antigua, or Hettenschweiler. But it is surprisingly hard, and they start to morph all on their own. I think they care very much, and like me, they do not cope very well with change or being in between, though why they should like Times New Roman in particular, I have no idea. I guess they're pretty conservative. But once I had shown them a few sans serif options, they seemed to like those well enough, and that seems more naturally numerical to me anyway. And they seem pretty content with Verdana now, and I know for a fact they do not care for novelty fonts like Fishface or Poopy, and they refuse to show up in any of them at all. I find their fastidiousness reassuring. Plant pathology. I have no intention of legislating anything, but I do sort of want to point out some stuff. Like grapes. Does anybody ever notice grapes? I had some at the trade show last week, and what I noticed was that they were served in a big chrome bowl. I think. Not too sure about the bowl, but chrome will do. And they were in big bunches. And unless you wanted the entire bunch, you had to pick off a branch, which is hard with one hand, because in the other is the dish you need to put them on, which already has a bagel and some other fruit on it. So it was not very considerate, and I said so at the time, but now as I think about it, I see my hand struggling with the grapes, and it is turned all purple-green itself and swelling, big and blotchy, and I'm feeling quite frightened by this, as if part of me were turning into a rotting corpse, which is not at all what I had in mind here. I just wanted you to see the grapes. And think about when you bite into one. It tastes pretty sweet, but now the stink of that hand is disturbing the aesthetic experience, and I can feel the heat and swelling running up my arm, and the arteries are turning red. So off I go to the emergency room, carrying my grapes in the other, still aesthetically pleasing hand. Thermidor. Crustacean is such a great word. I mean, look at it, lying on the page like that. And the sound, oh man, it sounds fabulous. And I think quite obviously edible, though this could be misleading, as there are definitely some you would not want to eat. And you have to take off the crusty parts first in any case, unless you're a whale and are eating the microscopic ones whole and by the bazillions. When I was a kid in Connecticut, which is another great word, we used to get lobsters every once in a long while, and back then you could still get 20-pound live ones from Long Island Sound, if you can believe that. It's a true story. So big, my father had to cut it in half first to boil the poor bastard alive in two huge pots. Damn, that's a tough way to go. But it's not like raising rabbits for meat. Who could do that? Man, that is really sick. I didn't expect this to be a poem about animal rights, and I do like lobster, and I am not that bothered by boiling them alive. And we used to pour boiling oil on guys climbing ladders to get at our wives and kids and gold and stuff, so maybe the lobster thing isn't that bad. Still, I am glad that they took the cooked one off the license plates. I like the new ones better, though all the variety seems to me just another capitalist ploy to get people to spend money. I mean, how many license plates does Florida have anyway? And I think one thing we learn about lobsters in particular here is that they have pretty limited imaginations, maybe because they live in the dark eating dead stuff in deep cold water and spend their lives consumed by the search for rotted bodies, which explains why long ago the only folks who ate them were poor. But now, through some strange quasi-Marxist inversion of the dialectic, it's mostly the 1% who eat them, and the poor lobstermen who do the extremely hard and dangerous work of hauling them up off the bottom for a barely living and very unreliable wage, and sell them to guys who pack them up on ice and ship them without the dead bodies to restaurants in big cities, where they are grabbed out of their torpid but contented icy slumbers, dreaming about decay and dismemberment, and tossed without undue protest into boiling cauldrons and served whole or pureed or otherwise unrecognizably to distracted people with large disposable incomes who enjoy the thought of eating something rare, exotic, and crustacean, with little sympathies for or imagination of the actualities of the life of these exquisitely dissolute and wholly disreputable real arthropods of the deep, who have as yet not secured the rights to their own so well-deserved season of reality TV. Blurp. Gas bubbles roam in dark goop. We focus on one in particular as it rises, slowly expanding in diameter according to Boyle's law, even though it has no idea who Boyle was, nor do we, what kind of man, I mean, and whether he was good to his wife and kids. It emerges finally from the dark soup and rises into air, the dark-tinged surface reflecting our gaze, and the fine array of special lights we have arranged to illuminate its spherical glory, this surface of minimum energy in which we see our faces reflected alongside the lights, all of it spherically and chromatically aberrant, which gives a fringed halo of colors to us and to the lights, that are arranged around it like hot floodlights on a police lineup as all of us look on while one by one the suspects are surveyed by the single witness who is mute and deaf and colorblind and from another country where several different languages are spoken, none of which resembles ours in any way. They have more tenses, more declensions, fewer adjectives, and many, many, many more nouns, which are sliding now down the perfect, smooth, and glistening surface of the desolate, dark sphere and gathering in drops at the South Pole and jumping rhythmically off into free space, with cries of ecstasy and glee so joyous in their perfect and forever incomprehensible freedoms. First date. Gotta wonder how long I can get away with this. That woman, I don't remember who it was, she said this great thing. Probably she wasn't the first, but it was the first time I heard it said. Read it, actually. She said, "Write what you want to read." Wow, that nails it. I keep buying all these books, hundreds of them, thinking, this is it. And sometimes there's some cool things, but my attention flags and droops, and they go off in some direction I don't get or don't want to go, and I feel like, go here, but they don't. So now I can go wherever the hell I feel like. Let's go to, I don't know, a bar with green and purple painted people who have been drinking all night and are crazy with rage and stupefaction. They are all naked mostly, some loincloths here and there, and dancing to loud music I don't recognize. I am one of them. My name is Alan. I am a practicing Buddhist, but I am not sitting presently. I am howling at the guy I am dancing with. Jesus, goddamn, I'm a gay guy. Who'd have guessed this would happen? Wow, he really is pretty hot, all green and naked and well hung. I have beads around my neck. I guess I am Allen Ginsberg, but not really, just sort of like him. I'm having an awfully good time with the thought of sex in the near future, but the thing that bothers me is that you're here too, and maybe you didn't want to come along at all. I think not too many people would like it here. I mean, honestly, we better leave. No, seriously, I want to. Sure, no problem. I can get sex anytime, and I'd rather be with you, so let's go. It's hard to breathe inside this enormous helmet. Hey, look over here, he said, waving wildly, standing on the reddish gravel next to the shiny metal landing craft. Smile, I'll take a picture. First woman on Mars. Gratuity. Hold fast to the sky cable, but the heaven end drops down, coiling around you as in cartoons, one end free, the other tied to you. Prayers chanted into the night come back flaccid and tangled in piles of words to pick through, looking for shiny baubles or metal to be sold on the dusty streets in the heat. But it's mostly refuse and scraps. So paste them on cardboard and scrawl names and phrases from your phrase book. Can I have some food, please? Where is the temple? How can I find some help? I am in need. What you need is a bohemian attitude of wordless praise, of joy in confusion. I so wanted to get out of the speeding van and walk the streets of Agra barefoot and destitute among the crowds of dogs and cattle and monkeys and people, the few dirty Westerners in beads and dreadlocks looking only for escape. Not the sun, not gods, just walking down streets in the crowd to do that endlessly. Just walking, not for anything, just being there for no reason at all. God says, be, and we are. But that is no reason. Why did he say that, do you think? He did it precisely for no reason whatever. She was not compelled. He did not need anyone. She was wholly free. Creation is absolutely gratuitous. The God I would imagine, the God I would imitate, would have a doorway in her chest. You could open it and walk right in. None of your questions will be answered, none of your needs satisfied, none of your sorrows eased, none of your vacancies filled, none of them matter. The heart swells with emptiness. It beats with inner light. People of the book. In second grade, I loved the town library. The 3-volume Human Anatomy with hand-drawn colored illustrations of dissections with the skin peeled back and pinned to the edges of the page. It was probably drawn by a German, the same sort of guy who did the truly mind-numbing drawings of the internal and external anatomy of the elephant louse for a dissertation I will never find again, but I know it exists, and I loved the books by Raymond L. Ditmars, like Strange Animals I Have Known. And I saw a book about the Holocaust and the skeletons, alive and dead, piled in heaps in the black and white photographs from the end of the war, which was only over a while ago, and the world of mathematics that I so wanted to understand and be a part of, but knew no one to help me enter. As we walked along the dusty sidewalk from the school, I remember what it felt like to be so short, so small. The books were magnets. I loved going there and reading above my level about anthrax and anteaters, hydrogen warheads, and Riemannian topologies, reading Gerald Durrell about the faun of Bafu, who figures large in my pantheon of superhuman characters, and wondering at the female genitalia with hair, all dissected in a chapter apart from that of the male. The dissections made me squirm. And not many years later, 2 or 3 maybe now that I think of it, my friend Bert and I used to dissect models of the invisible man that we had modified and filled with pieces of colored clay because we wanted to be doctors. But then we had to make them all leave our house one night because his parents, it turned out, thought that Hitler had been right, and I wonder if they ever saw that same book. Mother Goose stepping. And the dish ran away with the spoon. So it is fitting that we should raise anew the question of the meaning of being. Oh, damn. I didn't mean to bring him into this again. Am I in dialogue with Heidegger? Oh, I don't think so. He's too sophisticated for one thing, and I don't have any German. But he lived in my 3rd-floor apartment, bumming my cigarettes and drinking my beer for a very long time, so I feel like I know him. And his constant scribbling and obfuscatory commentaries nearly ruined my life. Why ever let him stay in the first place, I don't even remember. He said he just needed a room for a few weeks. But somebody like that has personality and such deep needs that you feel awful if you kick them coldly out. I mean, where else would he have gone? But I don't really want to dwell on this. I need to look forward, not back, not get all twisted about the past. I don't really blame him. It was all my own doing, and now that he is gone, I can shake myself clean like a dog, wag my tail, and sniff out a place in the sun, next to these huge red amaryllis on the table where I eat my oatmeal every morning and think about the company I want to keep. But there is still some black, sticky substance that clings to me like tar, and somehow it reminds me of his soft muttering or the dark and overpowering scent that surrounded him I'm not sure where it comes from, frankly. It wasn't really him at all, but somehow his dismal memory reminds me of it. I don't know where it is. The stink is just a whiff now. I've spent so long scrubbing, like trying to get something awful you stepped in off your shoe. You always think you can still smell it and wonder if anyone else can. You look around sheepishly. Not me, but it's really more a deeper thing, not on your shoe, but inside. Maybe on your lumbar spine or your liver somewhere you cannot get at it all. And I wouldn't go on about it, but I think that other people have the same stuff, not probably having anything to do with being or sein zum Tod stuck on them. It's too, so it's maybe worth thinking about some black sticky stuff that isn't death exactly, because that's not that big a deal. And there are ways around it, like resurrection and immortality, that could happen, you know. But what if you still had that stuff on you? What then? I think it is much bigger and more serious than death. And it's the stickiness I come back to, because it is fascinans, and it is substance, emitting no light. And once you touch it, it cannot be untouched. It is the stare inside a head of snakes, the sticky web behind a spider. This is before that, not in time, but in fear. All words fail here, myths fail here. Words fall apart, leaving meat hooks and desperate scratches on the walls. It is the dark. It is the dark. It is the dark. I did not mean to bring you here. But we do live. We live. We do live. We do. But it's not darkness and light. It isn't that. That's how it freezes up and then traps us, worse than dead. We are haughty. We say myth, as if there were such a thing, as if we'd caged and named, as if we have ideas, could have ideas of what there is. Fragmented, the words fall apart, fragile cups holding what there is to mean, holding and spilling over, cups of words runneth over, meaning bubbles and foams, liquids shine, shimmer, and dissolve, laughing. Oh, crap. Don't get all oracular on me. It's magic, image, magic, magus, deep, slow motion, basso profundo. We feel a great voice, a vast sound as the tape runs slowly down. Hey, diddle, diddle, oh, mo.